Hey guys, today we are going to talk about asking questions while reading. So I wanted to show you up on the screen. We've got the Reteach. This is what you should be able to do. You should be able to generate questions about a text before, during, and after. But what's important is the why. We're doing it to deepen your understanding and gain information. Now, I'm not going to take time to read all of these examples to you. I want you to just pause the video for me and just pause and read through these to yourself for just a moment. Go ahead and do that, please. Okay, so there's lots of different reasons and different ways we can ask questions, but the point of it all is to help connect us to a passage or a particular piece of text, and whether it's for enjoyment, whether it's to make connections, whether it's to deepen our learning, we ask questions, and I know you guys do it all the time. What I have for you today is an article that I have selected, and I'm going to try to see if I can zoom in a little bit closer. And it is about the Special Olympics. The title is A Very Special Olympics, How a Sports Competition is Thrilling Fans and Changing My Minds. You can tell that it's Special Olympics and not the actual Olympics. We've got youth, we've got children competing, and I made a connection that at Wilmeth, our own Wilmeth students participate in the Special Olympics. There's two particular headings, changing ideas, and I wonder, are they changing people's minds, or is this about how the Special Olympics has evolved over time? Maybe we'll find out in a moment. And then millions of fans. And I'm kind of curious. Obviously, I know what fans are, but I'm wondering, because there's millions, if maybe we're talking beyond the U.S. In the center, I want to bring to your attention that there's a picture of President John F. Kennedy, or JFK, and the caption says, President John F. Kennedy led the U.S. from 1961 to 1963. His sister Eunice, above, started the Special Olympics. That's pretty cool. I didn't know that. That's a new piece of information for me. Let's go ahead and get started. Runners sprint around a track. Gymnasts land flip after flip. Thousands of roaring fans fill the stands. This is the Special Olympics World Games, one of the biggest sporting events in the world. Very cool to know that internationally is what I guess they mean by World Games. People all over compete in the Special Olympics. As I go through, you're going to hear me asking questions. I'm trying to verbalize what I would be asking in my head. I've actually pre-read this before and written down some questions that I had. So if you see me look to the side, I'm looking at my notes. But I know it might seem silly that I'm saying it out loud, but I want you to kind of get a peek of what is going through my mind. Let me continue. Changing ideas. Special Olympics is more than just a thrilling competition. Its athletes have intellectual disabilities, such as Down syndrome. As these athletes sprint, sail, and bike, they are transforming attitudes toward people with disabilities. It's a pretty cool statement, transforming attitudes towards people with disabilities. So they're changing the mindset of people interacting with those special people with disabilities. These games were started 50 years ago by Eunice Kennedy Shriver, one of President John F. Kennedy's sisters. Their older sister, Rosemary, had an intellectual disability. Like many people with disabilities at that time, she faced deep prejudice. Shriver wanted to help change that. And here are some thoughts that I have. Number one, 50 years ago, wow, it's been around for a long time. Also, I didn't know that President JFK had a sister with a disability named Rosemary, and that's super special that her sister Eunice helped create the Special Olympics to celebrate all athletes with different degrees of disabilities. Very cool. The story continues. The first World Games were held in Chicago in 1968 with 1,000 athletes from the U.S. and Canada. So again, this is just starting out in the U.S. and Canada, but obviously we know that with the World Games, they're going to go international. As they stood to accept their medals, the athletes beamed with pride. For many, it was the first time they had ever received applause. So in a previous paragraph, they talk about facing prejudice, and now they're talking about receiving applause for the first time. Wow, that kind of hurts my heart to know that not only do they have struggles with a disability, but now people are not being kind to them or treating them as they should, whether it's giving prejudice towards a person or not appreciating and celebrating them for how special they are. So that's going back to that heading of changing ideas. I'm going to go into the next section, millions of fans. Today, 5 million athletes from 174 countries compete in the Special Olympics. The World Games are held every other year, but thousands of smaller competitions take place in between. More than 1 million volunteers help run this global program. Coaches, doctors, and even pop stars who perform at the opening ceremonies. All want to be part of the Special Olympics mission, shining a spotlight on what people with intellectual disabilities can do. By dazzling millions of fans with their strength, talent, and bravery, Special Olympics athletes have helped weaken decades of prejudice. Again, a powerful statement. Several countries, such as Ireland, have been inspired to create new laws supporting people with disabilities. Well, that's neat. I wonder what kind of laws are coming about due to this awareness and change of mindset with people with disabilities. And it finishes, changing the world in this way may be the athlete's most important victory of all. So you've kind of heard me ask some questions as I go through. I'm doing it to connect myself further with the story, to deepen my understanding. I do have some follow-up questions, though. Follow-up questions. Are there age requirements as to when they can compete and at what level for the World Games? I would love to see a list of countries. That would be really cool if they had a little chart as a text feature to show me what countries participate. I have a question about what types of activities or sports or competitions are included in the World Games. That would be really interesting. Maybe the top 10, a diagram or a graph of that would be really cool. Some other questions I have are, I wonder how I can help and maybe how I could help and volunteer. It would be neat if they included maybe a link to get involved with local Special Olympics. I am also curious about how do they get together with coaches? When do they get to practice? How and who helps them develop their skills to compete and participate in this? So those are some of my follow-up questions. This week, while you're working and when you're reading, let's make sure you're connecting with the passage. Let's make sure you are being a thoughtful reader, asking questions before, during, and after your reading task. All right, I know you're going to do a great job. I look forward to hearing and seeing your work this week. Take care.